Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's ICB webinar with Dext today. While we're waiting for everyone to join, I'm just going to quickly run through some housekeeping and just let you know that we're recording today's session. So you will receive a copy of the recording as well as the slides, so you don't need to worry about taking too many notes. And if you're an ICB member, if you're watching this webinar either live or on catch-up, you are able to add one CPT point to your record. So make sure you keep your CPT up to date. I know lots of you are doing that as we get towards the end of the year and reflecting and taking stock to make sure you've got all of your CPD in check. And I think my final notice is obviously we've got a demo from Max today, but if you want more from the Dext team, ICB are hosting a MTD implementation day in London on Tuesday, the 9th of December. And we're going to be joined by Paul from the Dext team. I think lots of you already know Paul Lodger. So if you want to come hang out with Paul for the day, make sure you book on for our MTD day. And hello, thank you for saying where you're coming from. We always like to know where everyone's joining from. I'm really excited today to be joined by Max, who's one of the product experts at Dex, who's going to be taking you through today's session. So over to you, Max. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Max Whiteley. I am a product domain expert at Dext, which sounds quite like a important technical title, but it just means supposedly an expert in the world of accounting and bookkeeping. I was an accountant, a bookkeeper in my time. I worked in practice for 10 years. I'm a ACA chartered accountant. And my job effectively is to speak to bookkeepers, speak to accountants, speak to for me, I think a bookkeeper is an accountant, but that's the story for another time. It's to speak to the likes of you guys and find out what you want from our product, and then help our technical team go away and deliver it. So hopefully, give you some insight to what Dext is, and give you a few of my favorite features. I can't demo you absolutely everything within an hour, but I can show you some of the wow features, some of the things that I think make Dext one of the best bookkeeping automation tools on the market, if not the best. So hopefully I can share that with you, gain a bit of insight from you guys. I'm open to questions throughout the webinar, so please feel free, should I say, to reach out during the call. Don't have to wait until the very, very end. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and jump into some slides within here. This is not going to be death by a slideshow, hopefully, famous last words. But if it is, please do raise in the chat and say, Max, get on with it, you're boring me. Let's get into a product demo. But yeah, we're very much looking forward to that. So the Dext Advantage, from bookkeeping efficiency to profitable growth. So it would be really helpful for me in the chat if you could let me know, have you heard of Dext before? Is it something you currently use? Do you want to get more out of the software? Do you use a competitor of ours? What's your current status? And it gives me a bit of a feel about who is on this call from within here. So yeah, anyone brave enough in the chat box, that would be much appreciated. And yeah, like I said here, my name is Max Whiteley, product domain expert at Dext. Whilst I'm waiting for some of those answers to come through, just in terms of today's agenda, we're going to be having a little look at how important the world of bookkeeping is and what the difference is between record keeping and bookkeeping, how we can simplify all of your bookkeeping processes with Dext, and I'll talk briefly on running your bookkeeping practice a bit like a McDonald's. Then we're going to be looking at connected workflows, some of our work with the AI, improving those workflows for Dext and AI. Hopefully give you a bit of an insight into our new AI bots, which have not actually been released yet. I'll probably get shouted at for showing you guys, but definitely worthwhile having a little look at. We've just started our beta program and inviting users in to have a little look and play around with our AI agents. So if it is something you are interested in, then definitely reach out to me at the end of this call. And if you like what I'll show you in the demo, then get using it, have your voice, talk to me, tell me how we can improve it, and we can go from there. A couple of people in the chat box from here, looking to make the switch to Dext, which is exciting. Morning, guys. I don't use Dext, but it's been floated as a piece of MTD software, especially for owners of multiple businesses. Okay, perfect. I can definitely bear that in mind as well. Okay, the importance of regular bookkeeping. So in the industry, we always talk about the world of advisory. We talk about adding value and all of this weird and wonderful stuff that we can offer to our clients. However, none of that is possible without the importance of sort of regular bookkeeping. For me, record keeping is collecting information to be able to submit a VAT return and a record of the information that is in that VAT return. Same for year-end accounts if it's just that once a year record keeping. Bookkeeping for me is the foundation to compliance and advisory and the structure that is built on top. So like I said here, if the foundation is shaky, the whole structure is at risk. In today's world, both needs to be fast, accurate, and scalable. So when a firm logs into their accounting records, whether they're using Free Agent, Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, they know who they owe money to, who owes them money, and they can sort of get current cash position, then assets position within the business. They know, how healthy they are to make decisions. So if they do get opportunities, to hire a new member of staff, a new office, that's come available to lease out, or if there is sort of issues, there is a leak in the office, there is an employee tribunal or something happens, they know exactly what position they're in and they don't have to scamper around to find out that information within there. So regular bookkeeping unlocks all of the other conversations, whether that's cash flow forecasting, management accounting, all of that stuff is useless without a good, solid, regular bookkeeping, whether that's done daily, weekly, within there as well. So yeah, just my opinion on that. In terms of Dext, this is sort of where we first came in. Dext historically was called Receipt Bank when I used it nearly 10 years ago now in practice. So I remember I started in the world of accounting and bookkeeping. I was doing my AAT qualification as a 15-year-old apprentice. And I spent my days typing up bank statements into Sage 50. I could see that clients were paying us quite a decent fee for a young 15, 16-year-old to type up bank statements. I didn't really understand what value we were adding. I come from a family of small business owners, and my mum used to own a hairdressing salon. My dad is a self-employed joiner. And it took me a while, probably the best part of 5 years, and to be introduced to the likes of Dext, where we could have this real-time information. And it sort of meant that for me as a bookkeeper and an accountant, I could actually make a difference to people's lives. I could actually be of service, of use to these business owners to help them make decisions in real time and to manage their business, to give themselves far more chance of success. And as we know, even with changing the budget, it is really hard to run a small business in today's environment. So without up-to-date information, it's even harder within there. So historically, this is what it would look like. You get a shoebox of receipts from your clients. Maybe that's once a year or once a quarter if they're VAT registered. You then input them manually into accounting software. They're paying you, a bookkeeping expert, to just sit there doing manual typing of information within there. That is then submitted into your accounting software and you do your filings from within there. It's really inefficient. It's obviously always, in arrears. You're either doing it at the end of the 3 months or, 4 months, because you've got a month to submit the VAT return, or even in some once a year processes, it could be up to 6, 7, 8 months after the year end by the time you actually do the record keeping for that financial period. So there's no real insight that you can offer your clients because that data is already too old within there. It's also not very accurate because humans, especially like myself, I am dyslexic, so probably make the worst person to actually do a lot of manual typing up within there. So accuracy is lower probably from humans than it is from some of the AI that is available to date. Then we sort of moved on to this next workflow, which is what we call automated workflow within Dext, which is the client still doesn't really know anything about Dext. They drop a shoebox of records to you, and you as the accountant just snap everything on a mobile phone app. You email all of the transactions in, and you process all of the receipts and invoices through Dext yourself internally, get them into your accounting software. It's really efficient. It's really accurate because you're not having to manually type things in. However, again, there's no real insight because those shoebox records are still coming in after the period is ended and nothing is really up to date within there. Okay. So what we sort of think is the holy grail is this effortless bookkeeping here at the bottom. This time it's slightly different. You put Dext in the hands of your clients. So you give them a mobile phone app, you give them a personalized email address to send receipts and bills to. And when they receive invoices or when the suppliers send them invoices, you can collect them in real time. So you're getting the invoices at a similar time to when your client is getting them as well. Dext is then processing these transactions, extracting the information, putting it into the purchase ledger, sales ledger of your accounting software, and you can go ahead and be on top of everything. So when your client rings up and asks for some advice or they need to make a decision, you know who owes them money, you know who they owe money to, they've got a bank feed in their accounting software, and everything is super up to date. So it's efficient, it's highly accurate, it's compliant, And it gives you more time then to focus, on the business and give them more insight and the tools for them to go ahead and be successful in what is a tough industry. Okay, so that's the perfect workflow. Dext in the hands of the clients and you doing the bookkeeping. That's how I used to like it when I was in practice. I'd give the clients the Dext. I probably prefer them not to do any of the bookkeeping themselves, just simply snap pictures and send the invoices to me. As the bookkeeper, I would then process it, make sure everything's accurate, and put it into the accounting software within there. So the customer journey is better. The customer enjoys it. They know now that, not just they're paying you to give them advice. You have more time to give them, whether that's a P&L report, debtors report, creditors report at the month end. They're getting more insight from you as a bookkeeper from within there. In terms of using different software, I know some people said in the chat earlier that they have used competitors, that they're looking at switching to Dext. We know we do come across people who have used Dext alongside some competitors for different formats of clients. For me, I used to run my bookkeeping sort of element of the business in my last practice, a bit like a McDonald's, which sounds a bit silly, but what I mean by that is if you've ever watched the founder, it's a film about the founding of McDonald's, and they talk about the speedy system where an order comes through the door, it then gets passed along. The bun gets put down by one person, then the burger, the next person, the gherkin, the bun, and then it goes out the other side. There was one person in one with one tool to do one job, and it was super efficient along the way. For me, I had all of my clients on at the time Xero and Dext. That is because I preferred those solutions, but I wanted to be experts in them more so. So all of my clients had the same onboarding journey. I was a complete expert in those tools. My team were complete experts in those tools. So when we had any client communication, client training, or anything like that, it was always the same process from within here. And this is how I sort of look at when I'm sort of thinking about bookkeeping or accounting. And this is sort of like the factory method, aka the McDonald's method of managing your practice from within here. So the first pillar is when that first client comes on board. So how are you going about pricing that client? We used to use something like Go Proposal in practice, but there are other things out there, Socket, Ignition, but just have one solution that creates accurate pricing and for something that you and your team, if you have a team, can go away and learn. And it's like a pricing menu. So everything is super systemized. If clients' transactions go up, they pay more, depending on how you price, whether you price on transactions or hours. And that is something that I did, priced right from the off, but I also made sure that the team were pricing and reviewing pricing every 6 months within our business. Then we move over to pillar two, which is the collection of clients' books and records. So for me, Dext is the best on the market by a country mile, and that is what we used within the tool. That processed everything, and then it pushed everything into pillar three, which is our accounting software. So Xero, QuickBooks, Free Agent, Sage. We use Xero from within there. Every single one of our clients use that. And again, you'll often say that, it's not that easy just to get clients to use the tools that you want them to. I totally agree. I worked at UHY Hacker Young, which was a big firm with partners with different opinions and within there. But the best you can to get everyone on the same software, the more efficient and more profitable you will be as a business. I always try and use the example of, you wouldn't invite a plumber around to your house and make them use your toolkit. We are the experts in bookkeeping, and we should be able to tell them what tools they need to use. So if you can, get them on Xero or whatever tool that is you prefer, and do everything as profitably and streamlined as possible. Then we have pillar four, which is the quality control stage, making sure everything is okay before we go and start producing a VAT return within there. Because often what happens is we do a job, do the bookkeeping, and then we come to do the VAT return, or we come to do some management accounts, and everything's not quite right. And then we're moving back to pillar two, trying to gather the materials, doing the bookkeeping again. Whereas pillar four is just that step and do that quality control review, which is what something Dext has as well within here. Dext is a thing called Data Health and Insights. It used to be called Dext Precision. And before that, it was an acquisition which was called Xavier Analytics, which effectively, I'll show you later, but looks at all of your information in your accounting software, not just in Dext. So everything in your accounting software, whether that's Xero or QuickBooks, looks for duplicates, errors, and things like that. And it's adds a lot of value to you as an advisor and make sure everything is super, super accurate, but also shows a bit of wow factor. So I'll show you how I use that to win new business later in the webinar as well. Then we have pillar 5, which is the working papers. If you do, go into that sort of section and you do anything around management accounting or anything like that. And then we finally have the deliverables. So actually submitting the accounts, whether that's or VAT returns, whether that's through the bookkeeping software like Xero, QuickBooks, or whether that's through an external tool like an Iris or a CCH or a tax filer or something like within there. So when I was looking at new tools, I use this as a methodology to make sure, I wasn't looking after shiny new object syndrome. I wasn't having multiple tools for multiple clients. I became an expert in a short, lean stack of items. And I use those tools to their complete ability to get the most return investment out of those tools. If I had, let's say, Dext and 3 competitors in the market, I wouldn't have the time to learn and to train my team to become experts in that software within there. In terms of Dext AI, and how we've sort of scaled the process over time. We do have a lot of people in the market who are saying, Dext, there is new AI alternatives to Dext. Dext has been AI from day dot within here. So unlike some of the other AI solutions on the market, which use other models like ChatGPT or similar within there to derive answers from, Dext has built their own large language models and own AI in the background within there. So if you look at the bottom there, we've got 1.7 billion documents that have passed through Dext, and we have learned over time from the changes that our users make from being the leader in sort of this section for over 10 years. We have trained our AI to make it the most accurate within here. So we actually have a 99% accuracy rate from all of our documents, which I think is definitely more accurate than a lot of humans as opposed to manual data entry within here. In terms of last year, we processed 300 million documents, which is obviously a hell of a lot of documents. And we also have a human in the loop, which is something we don't talk about. Given the scale of Dext and the size of the operation, AI, and you'll know this from just using things like ChatGPT, will never get an accuracy rate of like 99%. So what happens with us is we have a confidence scale on each of our extracted fields. So let's say supplier name. Our AI will look and our OCR extraction will extract a supplier name. And if it thinks that it's not quite sure that whether it's picked up the right one, maybe there's 2 things that it thinks could be supplier name, it'll give it a low confidence score on the extraction. That will then get passed to a human in our loop. So we use an external agency who are experts in each of those fields. So it will go to like an expert in supplier name. They will then go and look at why Dext is not very certain in this, and we'll go and tell and train our AI what it should have done with this. And then next time you do it, it'll learn automatically from that. So looking at that bottom and left-hand side, we make 10 changes a day to our AI, so it can understand different formats and information a lot clearer. Okay, in terms of, some of the leverage that we've done, we do have bank statement extraction. We have extracted 12.2 million bank statements in under 10 minutes, which is pretty impressive. We now have a supplier statement extraction tool, we've done over 2 million. That is a really cool tool, which I'll show you when we get into the demo. Obviously, there with a super low error rate within there. We now do great line item extraction. We're super accurate, like I mentioned. We also now have a document storage solution, a bit like a Dropbox, which now has 600,000 documents in there, and it's only been released in the last 6 months. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this in too much detail. I go through it in a bit more of a demo, but this is some of the features that we look at within Dext. We have loads of submission methods. We have practice insights where you can make sort of real, insightful decisions across all of your clients in one go. We're just about to release supply payments. Our beta program has already been announced. So if you do want to join that, then definitely you can do. We support all of the tracking categories in Xero or classes and location categories in QBO to get better reporting. We have our mileage tracking solution. We have a supplier statement reconciliation. We now have approvals within here. We have our data health and insights, which is that checking for errors, supplier rules, AI agents, all of this great stuff from within here. Our AI storage, which is Vault. We now have a browser extension to improve the likes of your Zero and QuickBooks, which again, I'll show you in here. We have all of these features, which sort of leads me into this world of this ROI calculator. And this was built because people were comparing us with competitors who just do basic Dext data extraction. Okay. I think Dext, just compared on data extraction, is still the best tool. I know I obviously work here, but I made that decision consciously for 10 years when I was in practice to use this tool over anything else in the market. It is the most accurate. You have to make the least changes, and but where I think it really drives return on investment is not just the data extraction, which it is 99%, as opposed to competition, which may be closer to 70, 75%. Dext has way more features and functionality, and if you really dive into some of those features, you can drive serious return on investment. So we have built a calculator, and again, I won't go through this in too much detail, but this is based on you have 10 bookkeeping clients. Each of those clients, on average, has 200 transactions a month. We're charging out £40 a month, and this is Dext efficiency. So if you use Dext to a low efficiency, basically out of the box, just for data extraction, we think we can save you 30% of time. Obviously, it depends on how much you're recovering. Do you on charge the cost of Dext? Most of our partners do. So, with the cost of 10 clients processing 100 transactions a month, if you were to use the time that we free up to go and get more clients at £40 an hour, you'd have additional fee income at £600 per month, which is massive within there, saving yourself 15 hours of time in the process within there. Okay. So again, yeah, without Dext, you were using a lot of manual time, not providing a lot of insight. Now with Dext, you're either going to improve the service you're providing to clients. Maybe you can charge more for that, or you can bring on more clients within that service as well. But what I would like to just show you here is our efficiency calculated here. So this is where I say Dext out of the box. You're using the submission methods, you're sending things in there, but it's really just data extraction from within there. However, if you really lean into Dext, you become an expert in that and use some of our other functionalities: advanced search, missing paperwork request, line item extraction, bank matches, prepayments, which is a great tool within here. You're going to get 45% time saving, and then 60% time saving if you use the likes of auto publish within here. So auto publish is effectively using Dext as an engine. The client sends an item to Dext, and it processes it straight into your accounting records without you lifting a finger. Supplier statement reconciliation, and so on, so on. So basically what I'm saying is, if you use a lean app stack, it's a lot easier to learn, become an expert, and really start to drive efficiency. Because when we start to move the dial here and say, yeah, we're using Dext properly with all of the features, we're really leveraging auto-publish and making some real gains within there, we can now say that, look, we're saving ourselves 30 hours. A time at £40 per hour is giving us additional fee income of £1,200 a month. So, over a year, you're looking over 10 grand within there as well. So, material, if you are just a sole bookkeeper on your own within there, makes a real difference if you do really go after this with some anger. Okay, so Dext, here we are. For those of you who haven't seen Dext before, you will get a cost inbox like this when you are within your clients. You'll be able to manage all of your clients from a far distance with here, which is where I'll show you in a second about some of the insights you can gain from within here. But in terms of the actual client has their own dashboard with all of this information in, and they can send items into their cost inbox. So there's multiple ways that the client can send items into Dext, and the main ones is our mobile phone app, which is really great. They just can pop out of the pocket, take a picture within here. They can also drag and drop files into Dext from their web browser. A lot of clients will use the email in method. So you can give them an email. When they receive a bill via email, they can go ahead and send it to that. I always like to take that one step further when I was working with my clients. And again, I can send you this email template. But I send this to all of my clients when they first onboarded with me as their bookkeeper. And I would say, I want you to send this to all of your top 10, 20 suppliers. Okay. And it basically says, dear supplier, we appreciate you're one of our trusted suppliers, and we want to ensure the relationship is one of that for many more years to come. So we've recently implemented a new system called Dext. We need to make sure that you get paid accurately on time. So we just ask you to make one change to your billing process. Still send me, so this is your client's email, still send me the bill, but CC my Dext email address in. And we'll make sure it goes into the account system and that you get paid on time. By doing this, effectively, you as the bookkeeper and your client are receiving the supplier bill at the same time, and there's nothing more real time than that. Your client also likes it because they're not having to forward invoices. Everything's coming straight from the client and going straight into there as well within there. Okay, let me jump back into my Dex from within here. Couple of other things worthwhile on here. We also have an invoice fetch solution, which you can connect to the likes of your Amazon account. So when your bill goes to your Amazon account, Dex will go in, grab it, process it before it gets pushed across to your purchase ledger in Xero. So, you know, when Amazon sends you that really annoying invoice that says, here's your order confirmation, click here to view the VAT invoice, then you have to click in, log in, extract it, forward it across the Dex. It's a real pain. So you can do that directly from within here. Connect your Amazon account directly through this box, and Dex will grab it every time a bill goes to that supplier portal. We also have our mileage functionality from within here. So if you do have clients who are on the go, they can also do this from the mobile phone app. What they do is they go into the journey, they can click who they are, what car they're using, is it a company car, is it a business car, is it a personal car, should I say? And we will do all of the calculations for you within there. So it also knows how many miles are done during the year, so it knows whether to claim 45p or 25p on that. I can say, right, okay, I'm coming from Manchester, where I am today, to our office in London. I can say whether I've had any passengers. I can put a description. I can see the calculation of how it's calculated that for me, create a claim, and it effectively just creates a bill for me within here. And I can add this to my expenses and so forth within there. So really cool feature. What I would say is on the mobile phone app, we also have GPS tracking as well. So you can get in your car or in your van, click start journey, drive to your destination, click stop journey. It will create the mileage claim for you automatically from within here. So really, really cool functionality within there. We've also just included our WhatsApp integration as well. So we know you're going to have some bookkeeping clients who just get overwhelmed by the amount of tech that they have to use, whether it's, you know, you've given them Dex, you've given them an e-signing tool, you've given them Xero, you've given them all of these things, and it gets quite overwhelming. So we've now integrated with WhatsApp, and you do that by going to your settings and going to your users. Sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Just got a little, I'm going to go to your users there, sorry. And then let's look at Max, the client here. And in the user details there of this client, you'll see a WhatsApp integration. And I can send that user a WhatsApp message from within here. There we go. And effectively what that'll say is say, just let you know, Dext, you've been added to the Dext account for exact accounting. You'll be able to upload documents by sending the images to here. Please click the button to confirm below. I go ahead, click confirm, and then I can just send my images to Dext or to that WhatsApp chat, and it'll just say, just let you know, we've now submitted it. Okay. You may have a client who has multiple businesses, so their WhatsApp number is linked to multiple businesses. What they can do then is when you click send, it'll ask you which client that relates to. So say, just let you know, you've sent this email, you've sent this transaction in. Which client does it relate to? Is it Max the client or Jane Smith? And you click the right client, and it goes into that right costing box there for a second. So if a client doesn't want to have or to be confused by other submission methods, then they can just go ahead and use WhatsApp within there. Okay. Any questions so far on some of the submission methods? So how to get an item to Dext. Often this is where I would stop as a bookkeeper, in terms of my client. This would be my ideal approach, is getting them to send all the information in, and then me going ahead and doing all of the categorization and processing into your accounting software from within here. Okay. So this is your costing box here. And I'm going to show you a few things within here that are really cool. So when a document comes into here, Dex will have already extracted all the information, supplier name, everything from within here. It's got the category, and it's also going to let me do a prepayment as well within here. So as you can see here, we've got a van insurance for the year for 12 months. If I was to put that in the month it was related to, August, it looked like August has £1,200 worth of insurance and nothing for the rest of the year. We know that's not quite correct and we need to prepay it across the year. Now with Dext, you have this opportunity to click prepaid expense, and we have the opportunity to say, do we want to split it evenly over months, or do we want to divide it by the amount of days in the period and allocate the days there? As this is an even invoice, it's a full year, I'm going to split this into even months from the 1st of September 25 to the end of August 26. As soon as I click publish in the accounting software within there, what that'll do is I'll see if I've got an example within here. Is it posts the prepayment, then it release it takes the prepayment out of the accounting software, out of the profit and loss code in the first month. So say the bill gets posted to insurance, then zero automatically without you having to do any of these manual journals yourself, Dex will go in and post all of the adjustments for you. The first one will take it out of insurance and post it to prepayments, and then every month, like this one shows here, it's going to post the journal back into insurance, into the P&L every single month to account for 1/12 of that invoice there as well. So really cool functionality. Have a little play around with the new prepayments functionality within here. Really, really cool. Okay. Jumping back into my inbox, show you some of the other new bits and bobs that are within here. We now have a place for our supplier statement extraction. So our supplier statements from within here now get extracted. So looking at this top one here, this is a supplier statement. And historically, what I would do in practice is I get my highlighter out. I probably print this out and I would look what's in Xero QuickBooks and what's on the supplier statement and try and find what's missing. This does it for you in a matter of seconds now. So you put your supplier statement in there and it's saying, just like you know, the statement says 2880 at that date. However, Xero says 3229. The difference of £419. We're going to tell you exactly where that relates to. So I've got this to come up with every error message possible under the sun. First one is missing. So I've seen it on the supply statement, but we've never seen it through Dext, or we've never seen it in your accounting software. So with those transactions, we probably need to ask our client, can you get those for us? Or if we're acting within their business, we want to ask that supplier for those transactions. And you can do that directly from this request paperwork button from within here. I can send the recipient's name and email address within here. And it's automatically got those two missing transactions for me to go ahead and chase, or I can export them into a list and send them on my own personalized email within there. Then we have in payables only. So an item has gone into Xero, but it's never passed through Dext. However, what's in Xero agrees to what's in the supplier statement for this example. So it's going to be green. The perfect is it's been through Dext and it's now in Xero, and it matches the account and it matches the supplier statement here. Then we have indexed only, which means an item is processed into Dext, but we've not yet pushed it across into our accounting software. And I can go ahead, click that, and it'll take me to the item, which will be sat in my cost inbox, ready to be published into my accounting software within there. Okay. Then we have not on statement. So this is a two-way integration. It's going to look in Xero and say, just let you know, there's an item that's just appeared in Xero that your supplier doesn't think that you owe them, which is slightly strange. Okay. I always look at this this article. There was a person who effectively, let me see if I can find it. I think it might be this guy here. He basically found out who Facebook and Google suppliers were and sent them loads of small invoices, and that they just paid them out because it was below sort of an approval threshold. So this would stop that. So an item has come into your accounting software, and it's just said, just like you know, the supplier when they sent the statement through doesn't say that you owe these. So why would you pay them? So what you need to do now is go back to the supplier and ask them, just that you know, we've got these invoices on our ledger, but you don't seem to think we owe you them. Why is that the case? They might say, oh, we never sent you them. You might want to just check that they're not fraudulent within there. So supply statements is a really cool tool within there. Okay. Second of all, we have approvals within here now. So within our business settings, we have an approvals tab, which is really useful. And you can have approvals for your cost section, your sales section, or your expense claims. I'll just show you the cost section for an example. We have our travel. We've created a workflow called travel. So a bit like a Zero or QuickBooks Bank rule, we're going to give it a set of criteria to look for when an approval is needed. Okay, so we want to apply approvals in Dext. So what an approval means is stop it from getting published into your accounting software until a certain person has approved it. So we're looking at all documents across. So we're super wide up here. So we're looking for absolutely everything. However, the supplier needs to be UK Railways. So every time we see the word the supplier UK Railways, we want you to then do this workflow for us. Okay. So I might want to say a specific user and their name to approve it, or I might want to have my manager approve it. Okay, so depending on the person who's submitting it and how their manager is set up in their user settings, that will go to their manager. But often in the case, it'd be more like a specific user. So Paul, let's say Paul, for example, is the head of travel for our company. Paul needs to approve it always within there. I then want to escalate this and say, right, okay, I think Kirsty should approve it when it's above £1,000. So it needs 2-layer approval within here. Then it gives us the option to say, right, okay, as the approval's going through, do we want this person to be allowed to edit any of these transactions? So for example, if there was 3 people to approve something, I wouldn't want to approve something and then for someone to change it later on down the line because that isn't what I approved. But it gives you full flexibility to create these workflows to suit you and your business within here. Okay. Jumping back into our costing box, how that looks in practice. Let me have a look within here. See if I've got one for the UK Railways. There we go, UK Railways. So instead of it allowing me to publish to my accounting software, it's now saying request approval. I then just click request approval, and then the person who it is that is the approver will have an approvals tab with things to approve. Okay. They will then be able to have a look at this and say, right, okay, yeah, here's the transaction. And I'm going to say, no, let's reject it and add a comment. So a comment could be stop using first class, use normal class in future transactions within there. So approvals can be as complex or as simple as you like. And if your clients just need a bit more compliance, a bit more structure around their business, then this is a really cool tool that they might like within here. I'm going to show you something now that's sort of really, really cool that, again, wasn't not sure I was supposed to show you this on this call, but I'm going to show you anyway. And it's a bit of a what's to come in the next month from Dext. Okay. So within Dext, we have supplier rules where you can say, just let you know, every time you see Tesco, I want you to do this with it. I want you to post it to this category. I want you to do this VAT method. And we can create rules to really sort of automate our processes. But it's never that straightforward. So for example, from Tesco, I might buy fuel. From Tesco, I might buy my lunch. So it can differ, and supplier rules are a little bit strict in that sense from within there. So this is where we came up with our AI agents, which is doing all of those subconscious tasks that maybe you realized you were doing, or you didn't realize you were doing, that are taking up some of your time. And we think we can take off some of these jobs for you with with your contacts, with your control to do some of these tasks and quirky jobs for you in a matter of seconds. So let's show you some of these examples of how this looks. So Dext, first of all, will, when you first start to use AI agents, have this tool which is called Generate. So this is going to look at all of the things that you do in your bookkeeping and say, you always do this thing for this client. You always take the purchase order number and put it into the reference. You always change a Tesco fuel receipt when it says fuel to fuel. Do you want us to do that for you? Okay, I've already done that for this client, so some of these examples are in here, but we can also create our own guidance within here. And again, it's like a little bit of a rule. So a bit like a ChatGPT or an AI sort of, any AI agent, it's always about the prompt from within here. So within description, we can go and put a prompt within there. And I'll show you some of the examples. And I'll show you that Tesco one within here. So this Tesco receipt, it says, if the Tesco receipt says fuel, petrol, or diesel, categorize it to travel and apply 0 rated. If it does not, categorize it to general expenses. Okay. We can then have our AI agent suggest this, or we can auto apply it so you don't have to do the work yourself. Okay. How that looks in practice, I'll show you that now. So jumping into here, we have Tesco. And within here, we have, let me have a look at this one. I think I've already applied this, and this is why it's gone from within here. So you bear with me a second. But if you looked at our history within here, bear with me a second. I think it's because I've already automatically applied it from within here. I'll show you another example. Um, and this is, for example, leases. So this is just look at some of our HMRC guidance. So in the UK, you can only claim back 50% of the VAT on leases. So I've said for any invoice that relates to the lease of a vehicle, I want you to restrict the input of that by 50% of the total tax charged and amend this and auto apply. So this is going to do it for us without us lifting a finger. If I look back at my box here and I look at my leases document, I can see here that's £49.83 worth of VAT, but what's been extracted is £24.92, which is 50% of that. And I look in the history of here, and it says here AI agent. The reason that this invoice, the reason this AI agent has been applied is because the lease. This is a lease of a vehicle, so input VAT should be recovered to 50% within there. So really, really powerful, and in sort of complete your context from within here. We can make it do other things from within here. So let me just look at some of the things it's done here. We've got a purchase of a vehicle here. It wants to flag. So we've asked it if you see the purchase of an asset, flag the document. So it's automatically flagged it for us within there. What have we had it? We've restricted the VAT to 0% on this because it's a car purchase and not a van purchase within here. So it's seen that purchase of an Audi is indicating that it's a car purchase. We've restricted the VAT to 0% within here. So getting rid of that work, making everything far, far more efficient and accurate. And you can build these over time and share them across your practice. If a VAT number is not shown, flag the invoice and put in the description box, this is not an official VAT invoice. Maybe we need to go and claim it. If it's computer equipment, so if it's above, if you see an invoice for computer equipment and it's above £200, then categorize it to office equipment. If it's below £200, categorize it to repairs and maintenance. And we can do all of these great things within here. I had a client this week who rang up and said, I have this VAT invoice from France. Obviously, it's French VAT and we can't claim it, but Dext keeps on picking it up. So I put in a rule here that just says, if the currency of the invoice is not GBP and you can see VAT, still don't want you to claim the VAT because it's not UK VAT that we're entitled to within here. I even tested it and I had the handwriting of recharge on a physical invoice. And I said, if you see the words recharge written on an invoice, then I want you to toggle our mark as rebillable tool within here, which is where we allow you to rebill some of your costs directly to a sales invoice when in Xero or QuickBooks. Again, PO number, like I mentioned before, when you see a PO number on a bill, extract it and put it in the reference section after the invoice number, separated by a comma. Okay, really useful. Things you would have had to do manually in the past, but now you can do it automatically within here. So what obviously that's super exciting. And, I really, I'm a big believer in the world of auto-publish. So when you see a document, it comes into your accounting software, you can then go and publish it into your Xero QuickBooks without you having to come in here and check things within here. But as bookkeepers, as accountants, we sometimes don't really like that too much. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I would approach auto-publish and show you how our AI agents now can really enhance it. So within your settings here and your integration settings, I'm going to jump into that. Here at the bottom, we have our auto-publishing settings. And for me, auto-publish on for all items was always a no-go because there is quirks with people's bookkeeping that you don't want to just publish everything into your purchase ledger without you having to look at it. So for me, I always turn that off. Then I had this down here, cost of exceptions. So select the type of items you do not want to be auto-published. So it's easy for me to say the ones I did want to be auto-published. That was receipts, invoices, and credit notes within here. Okay, but auto-publish is still not turned on, so how does this apply? This applies on a supplier by supplier basis. And I used to make my team come into this suppliers section within Dext, order everything by items, and say, right, okay, here are my main suppliers. I can click into them. I can look at previous documents in the inbox and archive. But I'm asking myself this question. Does the category ever change? Okay. Um, can that be handled by an AI agent? Potentially. So is the category becoming now correct every single time? If the answer is yes, and it's a clean PDF, Dex is going to get it right 100% of the time. So your team are wasting time, or you are wasting time going in and checking these items. So for those suppliers that you're happy that it's either the same category every month, or you've got an AI agent in place that will auto apply to make sure the category is correct, and it's a clean PDF document every single month, go ahead and tick on auto publish. And this is when you start to see time savings of 60, 70, 80%. And there is not another tool in the market that will get you that sort of efficiency, accuracy, all at the same time than Dext can within there. So don't be afraid of auto publish. Definitely have a little look at that within there. Okay. A couple of other things in the world of AI. Let me just show you a few things within here. Let me have a look within here. So this is a Tesco invoice, £6.80 within here. I have then put that into ChatGPT and said, increase this because I want to claim some more money back on my expenses, which is quite naughty. So it still has my writing on there, still bends, it still looks like a reasonable receipt, but instead of it being £6, it now says £10.04. Okay. Dex will now flag this and just say, just let you know, we think this invoice has been generated using AI. So a really cool tool to stop that from happening. We also have our supplier line item extraction. So what line item extraction is say, for example, you went to Costco and you bought 100 things. For me as a business owner to get loads of insight on how much I've spent on drinks, food, cleaning equipment, and to work out where my business is making or losing money, sometimes they need that linear detail, that line item of what actually has been bought. But sometimes 100 line items is really, too much information. So we can either extract line items, so that's everything. But we can also now group these into line item groups. So line item groups is what I'm going to show you here. And within our business settings and lists, we now have our line item groups. And again, like ChatGPT, you can create groups that are relevant to your business. So when Dex is looking at these groups, it says, does this item look like a building material? Does it look like clean equipment? Does it look like drinks? Does it look like food? If it does, let me put it into that group. So that now our line item extraction will extract the Costco invoice, but it'll put it into 4 lines: food, drink, alcohol, cleaning equipment, whatever that may be, from within here. So giving you that linear detail without all of this noise and mass information clouding up and confusing your Xero and QuickBooks within there as well. So new AI generated line item grouping is really, really cool from within there as well. So definitely have a look at that. In terms of our managing sort of your bookkeeping from afar, we do have our practice insights, which is what I mentioned earlier, which is here, which gives you a look at all of your clients and insights across all of your client base within here. Again, won't have time to show you all of this, but I will show you a couple of my favorite functionalities of how I use this in practice. Like I said, we want to get on this bookkeeping, we want to give as much insight as possible. So our clients need to give us their information as soon as possible. So if I looked at this item submitted and looked at my activity, we have a thing here called submission delay. So this is the amount of time it takes for a client when they receive an invoice, or the date the invoice is dated, to when it actually arrives in Dext. So let's say, for example, here, Paul Lodder's taking 157 days to send an invoice from when it's dated to when it actually arrives in Dext. And for me, that is a real issue. From I'm doing the bookkeeping, nothing's ever going to be accurate or up to date if it's taking that long to get in there. Then I can reach out and sort of say, why is this the case? Or I can deep dive a little bit further. So I can look at the items submitted, how people are submitting things here. And let's see if I've got Paul again. So we've got Paul here. He's got 10 submissions. He's 90% of the time uploading them into the web app. So he's getting them in a folder and he's uploading them to the web app. He's rarely used the mobile phone app. He's used it 1% of the time. He's used it 10% of the time, should I say. And he's never used the email in method. So maybe I could reach out and give him some training just to let you know you can forward things via email when you get them. You can use this format. You can say, give this to your suppliers. so they can send me the emails so you don't have to, and give them a bit more training to really drop down that delay day index so you can make sure that you are adding value and the VAT returns that you're submitting, the bookkeeping you are doing is accurate and up to date within there. So again, Bookkeeping Insights, really great tool from within here. I know I've got 10 minutes left, and I do speak very quickly, so I'm going to go through probably a couple more short wins that I think are really useful. Again, if anyone does have any questions, please do feel free to stop me from rattling on so quickly and interact with me. I'm going to show you our Dext extension. Okay, so Dext extension is a browser-based extension that we created by looking at hundreds of hours of bookkeepers' time within here. So Dext extension is like a browser extension. It enhances three areas within here. It enhances Dext, it enhances Xero and QuickBooks, and it also enhances your web browser as a whole. So if you're a Xero or QuickBooks user, this is definitely something that you should use and comes free within the platform. Okay, so how did it enhance Dext? So I showed you this slightly earlier by accident. So within your cost inbox, I'm not going to, hopefully this will work for me. So yeah, underneath your category within Dext, now it says Dext extension view previous codings. So if you didn't know where something was posted to in the past, you would jump out of Dext, you'd go into Xero, go into QuickBooks, look at where it's posted before, and then replicate it. Now directly from here, you can go ahead, click Dext extension, and it'll say exactly where everything's been posted to before. Nothing's been posted for the supplier, so we can't see that. But this would historically just say, yeah, UK Railway, 0 rated, here's the category, so you know where to post it to, again, from within there. Really useful. But most of our enhancements have come from within the accounting software itself. So without, looking, we now have our health score. So our data, health and insights, which I'll show you in a second, where Dext gives you a health score right there at the top. So it looks like a Xero button, but it is in fact coming from Dext. If you're advising your clients, you've rushed into a meeting, you can see here, just let you know, there are 101 grand of bills, but there's a little flag here, which is the Dext button, which just says, just let you know, there's 18 costs still in Dext, totaling 8,139 that you need to be aware of before giving advice on that number. Okay. Same for sales within there. Really, really useful. Within our bill section here, you'll see here, Dext extension has all of these features, and you can turn them on or off. So I'll show you something. So if I look at a bill here with an attachment, without Dext extension turned on, this is what it looks like. If I wanted to look at that bill, there it is, but it's quite hard for me to see underneath and the bill at the same time. With Dext extension turned on, we realize that bookkeepers like to see things side by side, and it can be really customizable with this, so I can see the bill and the invoice there. We've also pre-populated this reference number into the box at the bottom, so you don't have to type it in if you are paying something off to a director's loan account or a cash account from within there. Again, just those 1% all over the park where we could see bookkeepers were wasting time and how we went ahead to enhance it. But most of our functionality has come from this reconciliation screen. If something is a match, instead of going to find a match and making sure it is a match, you can now click the paperclip there and it gives you the receipt directly from within the bank rec screen. This more details box, really irritating. This box blocks everything underneath it. With the extension, you can now move it around wherever you like. The discuss tab on here, you often type the same thing in. You put a full stop, Dext has pre-populated a list of things you might want to say. Okay, yeah, we want to say tax invoice needed from within there. This is a really long description. If you might not have realized this, but if you let me turn this functionality off. I think it's that one. It's bank description on bank statement. And if you looked, if I refresh that, went back down here, Xero would only give you one line, so you'd always have to click in to understand what that is. Now with that turned on, refreshed, it'll just let you fill the box for you, so you don't have to click. We'll pre-populate that description into the Y box as well, so you don't have to manually type it up within there. And then probably my most favorite feature of all time is this request paperwork button here. So this looks at all of these unreconciled transactions, and you can go ahead, create an email directly from within here, connect it to your Gmail, your Outlook, or download it as a PDF, a CSV, which just gives a list of all of your outstanding transactions, all of your discuss tab comments within here, and you can hand that to your client within a matter of seconds, as opposed to doing these reconciliation reports, chopping and changing them. This is built for you to request paperwork in a matter of seconds. So yeah, is a Dext button, but sits directly within there. What I would say is if you do get the chance to download our Dext extension, go ahead, download it, and hit this Get Started button, and it will show you exactly what it does to each of your functionalities. Turn these features off, in my opinion, and then go one by one and try and work out what it is that it's doing so you can learn and decide whether you like things or not. And again, if there is certain functionalities that you don't like, just turn them off, and that will remember your settings going forward from within here. But this also works on QuickBooks and is a really great tool to really speed up your bookkeeping process. So you, your team, even your clients can get access to this included within your license within there. And then finally, my last tip is the data health and insights, which historically was an acquisition by Dext called Xavier Analytics, but now it's called our data health and insights. So if I was to jump into a client within here, it gives you a health score based on a number of metrics. These metrics are built of two things: data health, which is where we think there's errors in your business. So what I mean by that is things like multi-coded contacts, which is you've been to Vodafone 6 times. 6 times you claimed that back, 6 times you didn't. Why is that the case? I actually saved a client £5,000 in a prospecting call, just by showing them this. They hadn't claimed VAT on a van, and this pulled it up. But yeah, just these are all the errors, and we've got loads of information within here: duplicate contacts, duplicate transactions, where we think your control accounts have gone out. So is your wages control account growing every month? Does it look a bit inaccurate? And then we have insights, which is weaknesses in the business. So I'll just jump into something like this: metrics. So not necessarily errors, but are you over reliant on certain customers, over reliant on certain suppliers? Do you have things in your aged receivables that have been there for a long time? Can we help you with sort of going to the small claims court? Do you have a load of things in your aged payables? Do you need to write some of these things off to make it more accurate and make your reporting more accurate? So that's what data health and insights is. And you get a health score here, and you can export that to Excel or PDF and give to your clients. What I used to do when I said I use this for prospecting was I would offer people a free health check. They would then connect their Dext, my Dext to their Xero. I would give them a free health score in a matter of seconds, export it and send it to them. But I also knew then how much they were paying their current bookkeeper. And it gave me a good insight into how messy they were. So I made sure I priced correctly. But if you are using this data health and insights on a regular basis, instead of doing it reactive like I just showed you there and looking at things, you can go into here and create workflows. And your workflows are basically just a set of repeating steps that you can follow every single month. And not only are they steps, but they bring in the information from the accounting software. So first step, reconcile your bank account. Just let you know, there's 5 things that need reconciling. Second step, check for multi-coded contacts. So here, just let you know, Travis Perkins has been posted to 2 different categories in the month. Let's tidy that up. Vodafone has been posted to different tax code categories and account code categories in the month. Next step, does box 1 equal box 6? Just let you know, it's 20%. Which is what we'd expect to see. Can we go ahead, tick that off within here? So it just keeps you accountable, makes things super accurate, and not only set of steps, but it's bringing in that information from your Xero or QuickBooks accounts to make things super, super accurate. So hopefully what I've shown you there, guys, is somewhat insightful. I know I speak very fast and there is a lot to go through. I've tried to go through as much as I can in the period, but if it is something you want a demo on, we do have a full team here, a sales team, customer success, and that we'd love to get you involved. Obviously follow me, Max Whiteley, on LinkedIn. I do a lot of short form content to help you get the most out of Dext. If anyone does have any questions or is impressed or not impressed by some of the functionality, then definitely do reach out in the chat box now. I know we've come to time, but I can more than happy to stay around and take some questions if people do have anything that they would like to raise. But yeah, thank you very much for joining. Hopefully that was somewhat insightful for those over your lunch break. And yeah, hopefully we can see you guys soon.
Thanks, Max. You definitely managed to cover a lot in less than an hour. I'm quite impressed. Hopefully that gives everyone an idea of lots of the features of Dext. So as Max has said, if you've got any questions, we'll be sending out a copy of the recording and the slides. And I'm sure the Dext team would love to tell you any more if anyone's got any questions. So yeah, thank you, Max, and thank you everyone for spending your lunchtime with us today. And
Perfect.
well, if you want to hear more from the Dex team, they will be coming, not Max, unfortunately, but we'll have Paul Lodger coming to the ICB Making Tax Digital
Yeah.
Implementation Day. So
Yeah,
you can
Paul's far more impressive than me, who's a partner in the firm for a good 20 years, so he knows his stuff. Yeah,
save up your tough questions for Tuesday, and I'm sure Paul will be happy to
yeah,
answer those. The tickets are free, so just head to the ICB website and you can book your place. So thanks very much, everyone, and thank you, Max. Have a good afternoon.
perfect. Thank you very much.